When you describe the future with enough clarity and coherence, the mind does not argue about whether it will happen. There was a study done by Laura King at the University of Texas that at first glance sounds almost too simple to be meaningful. Participants were asked to spend 20 minutes a day over the course of 4 days writing about their future, not as a fantasy or as an idealized dream, but as a realistic vision of their life if things unfolded as they reasonably could. They were not instructed to use affirmations, and they were not asked to be convinced of anything for themselves. They were simply asked to describe. When researchers followed up a month later, something very subtle but measurable had shifted. Self-confidence had increased, optimism had risen, and the anxiety levels had all dropped. What interested King most was not only the emotional change, but what seemed to be happening inside the brain itself. The brain could not treat these descriptions as imagination or wishful thinking. It interpreted them as scenarios, the distinction that matters more often than we realize. When you describe the future with enough clarity and coherence, the mind does not argue about whether it will happen. It begins organizing around the possibility of achieving the same systems that are involved in planning, orientation, and control. Anxiety often lives in the future, where things feel vague and undefined or impossible. But when there is no internal image of where life might be going, the nervous system stays alert, scanning constantly for threats or disruption. But when the future becomes legible, even if it's imperfect and uncertain, something in the body begins to settle. Not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because there exists a direction. And this is not about positive thinking or forcing optimism. It's about orientation. The mind needs a place to aim itself, not a promise of success, but a sense of direction that feels inhabitable. So here's a question worth sitting with, without rushing to answer it or trying to perfect it. If your life were to unfold the way it feels, honest, sensible, and aligned with who you are becoming, what would tomorrow quietly begin to look like? And if you have ever taken the time to describe that future clearly enough for your mind to recognize it as something real. When these things keep occurring, when we keep seeing these scenarios, the brain doesn't see them as imaginary. It sees them as part of reality, as part of the world that you live in. So here's the challenge. Do this exercise. Take just 20 minutes a day for the next 4 days with your best self in mind. Imagine how much more at ease you might be at taking calculated risks. Write about this as if you were already seeing this as part of your future. Do this just for 4 days. Then notice how your life may have changed. You will be pleasantly surprised. If you enjoyed this video, join us for some more. Just click the subscribe button.